Welcome to a review of The Trial of the Margin by Robert Walker, beautifully summarized by Chen's review, The Margin Speaks. As the review so hauntingly notes, the white space between paragraphs is not empty. Press your ear to it. You will hear breathing. Robert Walker laid the groundwork for this masterpiece by writing 18 companion novellas for public domain classics. These are collected in the 5-book series, Testimonies from the Margins. While deeply enriched by that broader series, The Trial of the Margin operates as a breathtaking standalone climax, a singular trial holding all of literature accountable. This book explores the space between stories, asking a vital question: what happens to the characters literature left behind? 18 silenced characters step out of the margins to testify. They bring the accumulated weight of 3 centuries of silence, the heavy condition of having existed within a narrative and having been passed over. It is a chilling concept executed with literary precision. The margin has never felt so crowded. In this courtroom, the antagonist is not a villain, but the physics of a well-told story. The prosecution is the voice of craft, which argues that erasure isn't malice, it is simply architecture. As the voice of craft states, stories require compression. Cathedrals depend for their power on the emptiness they enclose. So who exactly is suing the Cathedral of Literature? The docket includes 18 witnesses. We hear from Myrtle Wilson from The Great Gatsby, Twenka, renamed Friday, from Robinson Crusoe, Pearl from The Scarlet Letter, Justine Moritz from Frankenstein, and Pip from Moby-Dick. Session 1 covers erasure by violence, the paragraph, the sentence, and the body. These are lives ended strictly to advance the protagonist's plot. Myrtle Wilson is reduced to a paragraph of wreckage. Captain Dorov is flattened into an iconic Gothic image, his daughters going completely unmentioned. And Walker's brilliance shines through Sybil Vane's testimony, where she redefines the narrator's aesthetic distance as a ship's hull, designed to keep the story dry and the ocean of real human suffering out. Session 2 deals with erasure by convenience, or the subordinate clause. These are lives resolved before they were ever finished. Pearl carries a mother's secret for 30 years, only to be sealed away by Hawthorne in a single sentence about armorial seals. Twenka, a master navigator, is renamed Friday, simply for the day of the week he was found. And Stepan Probka, a master carpenter, trades 60 pounds of a hand-hewn beam for a single reader's laugh. As the text notes, a single ribbon binds decades of erased history. Session 3 examines erasure by reduction, the flattened surface. These characters are seen by the text, but never truly entered. Maddie Silver is paralyzed for 24 years, her brilliant mind mapped only as wreckage by a passing engineer's glance. Ling is a consciousness trapped under Dr. Moreau's surgical surface. And Mary Dawn is the unthanked infrastructure holding back cosmic horror in the house on the borderland. This flattening is a surgical act where the surface is made smooth and the depth underneath is excised. Session 4 tackles erasure by contempt, the dismissed witness. This occurs when the narrative actively despises its characters. Contempt is not passive, it is an active, corrosive agent that judges, then discards. Nathaniel Thorne's profound theological break against the Martians is diagnosed by the narrator as mere noise and hysteria. Sybil Vane is punished for the unforgivable sin of sincerity in a world that worships performance. In the end, the narrative calls it a style, the condemned call it a sentence. Session 5 is erasure by dangerous knowledge. These are the ones who saw first, erased because their truth would break the boundaries of the genre. Maple White is left as a skeleton just so the heroes could discover the lost world. The author of The Yellow Sign is turned into a faceless curse because a human guide would dilute the horror. And A-Line carries the truth of the third dimension in a frequency the Flatland satire classified as mindless noise. Session 6 confronts erasure by time, and what remains. These figures are silenced not by authors, but by the limits of language itself. Pip is left floating in the Pacific, seeing the infinite machinery of the universe. The crew called it madness because they couldn't bear the witness. Weena represents 800,000 years of chosen forgetting, preserved in the gesture of handing a flower to the time traveler. Erasure by time is not malice, it is simply the inevitable decay of meaning. Between these formal sessions, the strict laws of the canon break down in the interstitials. Walker allows marginalized characters from different centuries and genres to recognize each other's shared conditions. Myrtle Wilson and Maddie Silver recognize the shared trap of American marriages, Tuenka and Stepan Probka recognize the identical ledgers of the powerful. This is where the novel's deepest empathy lies, in the quiet corners where the marginalized pool their invisible labor. Ultimately, we witness the cracking of the cathedral, the trial's truth exceeds the container of fiction, and the courtroom terraforms. Craft is not destroyed, rather it is relieved of the impossible burden of hiding the human cost of literature. In a moment of true liberation, the cathedral's ceiling falls, revealing the sky. The verdict is yours. Walker does not ask us to stop loving classic novels. He offers a new practice, the Anti-Canon. This is the practice of reading the silence as carefully as the sound, recognizing that the edges are where the real story lives. It calls us to actively ask, what was the name before? Fortunate for whom? What did he see? With a 5 out of 5 stars rating, the message is clear. The margin is a person. The person is waiting. Listen, The Trial of the Margin is a masterpiece of metafiction that will permanently change how you read the classics.